What a phase, my friends. What a phase Ignacio is going through. Guess who showed up? She's back to being one of the stars of Lula and Company's total misgovernment. That one. The same one from the past, right? I'm back. Rosemary Noronha, a news report from Veja magazine. And look, Veja is receiving a lot of funding to be able to promote this conference of the parties and all that. It is receiving. All the narco press is receiving funding to be able to promote this conference of the parties. If they were serious journalists, they would be exposing all the problems, everything the guy is spending, which won't mean anything. He's taking food away from people who need assistance just to show off for others, to see if he can get some money from abroad, because it's easier for him to take and spend foreign money than Brazilian money. Although Lula is very cunning, which we know well, she appeared and another case emerged. That we see how Are you aware of the tilapia issue? The tilapia? That Lula wants to ban tilapia farming, wants to wipe out tilapia here in Brazil? You will understand why. JBS is in the middle of all this mess. We're going to show everything here. Smash that like button, it really helps. Hit that like button. Join our family. Come be part of our team. I'm sure you're really going to like our content and our information. It's impressive. We saw it just the other day. We don't understand why. Lula made an export agreement for tilapia with Vietnam, while at the same time, he tries to ban the farming of the fish here in Brazil. You will understand why this is of great importance. Tilapia is one of the most consumed fish here in our nation. Isn't that right? You go to a bar and there's tilapia fillet. You go to a market, you get a little tilapia fillet. It's delicious. It's a very tasty fish. People who regularly eat tilapia know you can make many recipes, like baked or fried tilapia. You can use breadcrumbs. Making tilapia sashimi is also delicious. It's really tasty. It's a delicious fish. And here in Brazil, even though people say it's a native species, it was actually introduced here, and it adapted really well. Do you think tilapia harms nature here in Brazil? I didn't get it. How is a tilapia going to harm nature? These guys must be joking. Marina calls them invaders. You'll understand the reason? You'll understand? Look, a little tilapia here, so cute. What do you think? A table over there and all, as a snack, it's delicious. Tilapia is a very tasty fish. And Marina Silva, right? She was with, look, who is she with? No one less than George Soros' son. That Marina, guys, she's all talk in the valley, all talk in the valley. And the best person to explain this, by the way, has already been here on our podcast. It's the former minister, right? Cabrera, who knows everything about the agricultural sector. He's one of the leading experts in agribusiness in Brazil, Minister Antonio Cabrera, a person extremely, we can say, with an enormous amount of knowledge. This man has a wisdom that, honestly, it was a privilege having him on our podcast. I'll try to bring him on more often.
I'm here in an incubation lab for tilapia production. What you're seeing here are eggs of tilapia. Here you have about 80,000 eggs. After they hatch, they move over here. Here you are seeing tilapia larvae. Later, they will turn into fry. Brazilian tilapia is so productive, it's called the chicken of the waters in Brazil. This has made Brazil the main producer of farmed fish in the Americas. This is mainly due to tilapia. These are the tanks now containing tilapia. In each of these boxes, you have about 20,000 larvae. And what's interesting is that in Brazil, tilapia farming has undoubtedly become the most technological and developed in the world. That's so interesting that worldwide, the average tilapia production has been around 20 to 25 tons per hectare. But here in Brazil, in excavated ponds, this is around 50 tons, and in net cages around 100 tons. Today, Brazil leads in tilapia production efficiency. This has made Brazil win over the most demanding markets, like for example, the North American market. But I'm saying all this because despite this incredible growth, the fish sector in Brazil is extremely regulated. In fact, this fish production sector is even more regulated than the arms sector. But now the Ministry of the Environment is going too far because there's no study, and there's going to be a vote now in the ministry where they want to ban the farming of tilapia in Brazil. That's because they want to consider tilapia as an exotic and invasive species. Because tilapia is African, but it was introduced in Brazil in 1950. Now it's interesting that at some point, Brazil's production system has its roots abroad. If you look at meat production back then, the zebu came from Asia. If you look at perhaps the main grass in Brazil's pastures today, which is Brachiaria, it came from Africa. So, this measure has no technical or scientific basis. Here you have high technology, you have farming in tanks. There is no risk from a species that has already been in Brazil for more than 75 years. So, this is actually the criminalization of a highly productive activity. After all, this is animal protein production. And the irony is so interesting that today China is the largest producer of tambaqui, a Brazilian fish. And Germany now, for example, is starting to farm our pirarucu in greenhouses. And both tambaqui and pirarucu are Amazonian fish being raised abroad. So over there they can farm them, but here in Brazil, the Ministry of the Environment wants to ban it.
You'll see how outrageous that is. China farms Brazilian tambaqui and Germany farms pirarucu. In fact, there's a lot of pirarucu around here. For those who enjoy fishing in our countryside, São José do Rio Preto, pirarucu is available since it was introduced here. The species overgrew. In fact, it's one of the fish that's allowed. Pirarucu, tucunaré, tilapia, too, if I'm not mistaken, are fish that are allowed here during this season that you can't fish. There are some species that you can't fish during the spawning season, so pirarucu was introduced here and can be fished. In fact, it's a very big fish. They end up eating other species and so on. That's why it's allowed. It's a wonderful fish. I've had the chance to see it. Not to fish. I really like fishing for tucunaré. When I have some free time, oh man, it's a delicious fish. Tucunaré too. What a delicious grilled fish. Guys, look, I love fish, but this is freshly caught fish, right? Yeah. Then I started to understand, why do Lula and Marina Silva want to ban tilapia in Brazil? Because it doesn't make sense, does it? There's no logic to this. But yesterday the reason was revealed. Vietnam exports the first shipment of tilapia to Brazil. Vietnam also has tilapia there. Remember that Lula was in Vietnam a few days ago? Doing business, more business with the eastern country. Confirmed, Brazil will eat tilapia imported from Vietnam by JBS. JBS is lobbying to ban tilapia farming here, to ban tilapia in Brazil, Brazilian tilapia, so they can buy tilapia from Vietnam. They're definitely making deals to buy from the Bacia das Almas and sell it to us here at a higher price than we pay now, since tilapia fillet isn't cheap. When you buy the little package, it's not even a kilo. It's 900 grams. 900 grams. To sell tilapia here to us, look at this. JBS's first container of tilapia imported from Vietnam is already en route to Brazil. Do you guys have any idea about this deal? George Seif, the senator, made it happen. Do you understand? We invited the muse of the non-governmental organization, Marina Silva, to the Senate to explain herself. Cannabio plans to restrict the cultivation of tilapia, tambaqui, jackfruit, mango, pine, and eucalyptus in Brazil. Brazilian agribusiness must be hated by the Partido dos Trabalhadores. These guys want to ban tambaqui. Jackfruit. Even jackfruit, mango, pine, that wood, and eucalyptus in Brazil. What does Marina Silva have? Sorry, but she must just have nonsense in her head. She doesn't have any power. She just doesn't have any power. It must be a lobby. Importing one from another country is too expensive for us. How shameless they are, shameless people, to ban tilapia, tambaqui, even mango. These guys are joking. Then comes the news that Jorge Safe puts out, right? JBS has already shipped the first container of Vietnamese tilapia to Brazil. We're importing tilapia to eat, even though we have plenty here, for now. Guys, these people are joking. They're mocking Brazilians. This is a crime. What they're doing is a crime. Tilapia, as Minister Cabrera said, is practically the chicken of the waters. It's the chicken of the waters. Man, just when we think we've seen it all, we end up being surprised, especially with this one. They should ban these atrocities here. Look at the friend. Some friend, huh? Known as Lula's ex-lover. That's a fact. The press itself labels it. Here are the problems of a famous friend of Lula with the Internal Revenue Service. Check the Veja article about the Internal Revenue Service. It's even locked. Because they don't want many people to have access to this report, right? A famous friend of Lula's issues with the Internal Revenue Service. Rosemary Noronha had an appeal rejected by the Administrative Council of Tax Appeals. She couldn't prove the origin of 262,000 reais deposited into her account. They deposited it into her account. 262,000 reais. This woman shows up now while this failed conference of the parties of Lula is happening, which is being a turning point, showing Brazilian society the hypocrisy of these people. But let's take care of the environment, but without taking care of the priorities of our cities. The city of Belém is completely neglected, and these guys are saying they're concerned about the environment. Lula's former mistress, look here, former chief of staff. From the presidency, Rosemary Noronha became nationally known for her long friendship with Lula, and for the federal police's revelations about her life as an aide to the Partido dos Trabalhadores member in São Paulo. Rose showed up. Someone who knows a lot about this is Augusto Nunes. Look at what he says here.
To truly know who she was and is, Rosemary Noronha was very close to Zé Dirceu. She had worked with Zé Dirceu, and Zé Dirceu introduced her at the Bank Workers Union dance in São Paulo to Lula. And her resume was summed up as follows. Highlighted by José Dirceu, she had what was called an outstanding national preference. Lula was immediately smitten by her intellectual prowess and appointed her first as secretary and then as head of the regional office of the Presidency of the Republic in São Paulo. She was really bossy and also liked to redecorate the spaces she was in charge of. Then a photo of Lula in soccer cleats pretending to be a soccer player, all very classy stuff. She traveled abroad with the President of the Republic more than 20 times. Coincidentally, these were trips where the First Lady, Marisa Leticia, was not present. Rosemary Noronha's name was not published in the official gazette so that Marisa Leticia wouldn't find out. So that made her an unofficial passenger with the highest mileage in the history of the Brazilian Air Force planes. And since she was discreet during the flight, only at night would she get up and go to the presidential quarters, from which she would not return. So she is introduced as a friend of Lula. In my childhood, in my city, we used to call it amigada. That's what it was called.
Augusto Nunes is a top figure in Brazilian journalism. But man, did you see what he says here? That she would arrive, look here. The plane was going to several places because Lula always loved to travel with our money. She would go into Inacio's room on the plane and wouldn't come back. And Lula was married, and her name wasn't in the official gazette. Now she's involved in the 260,000 reais scandal. No one can prove who sent that money. She must be under extreme pressure. Right at the time of the conference of the parties. What a phase, what a phase. Share this video on WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook. Hit that like button. Come be part of our family. Come join our team. Subscribe to the Pais e Filhos channel. I'll be back soon with more news and updates.